Good afternoon, Seattle. Welcome back to Le Freres, Heureux, the only existing Fraser podcast that happens to take place in Scotland.
As far as we know.
As far as we know.
Yeah, there could be another one.
I don't know how much I'm changing these as I go along.
I have no idea. I think you've done that one before.
Have I done that one before?
I think
Just
so.
try to keep it fresh.
No.
There's only so much unique things about us that we can that we can use. My name is Fraser.
And my name is Euan.
And it has been a few weeks since we have last recorded.
Mm-hmm.
And even though episodes have been coming out,
Yeah.
we recorded in advance. So we are back in the same room again together in a brand new location.
Yeah.
In a new house. In our new recording room.
Yeah, this is the Happy Brothers podcast recording studio.
The headquarters.
The headquarters for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. It's just my bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's not my bedroom.
It's a bedroom.
It's a
in your
bedroom
house.
in my house. But it will be the recording studio.
Yeah.
Henceforth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're on disc 3 of season 7.
Yeah.
Working our way through one of the better seasons, in my humble opinion. Although the markings aren't really lining up to what I thought they would be. No,
there's definitely some that are lower than I was expecting.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Both from mine and from yours, I think.
Yeah.
I was a little bit disappointed, but what can you do? That's what this whole exercise has been about.
Yeah.
To have a bit of a refresher on all the ratings.
It'll be interesting to see once we've gotten once all the seasons are finished, we can go through and have a look at, which season is my highest rated and which season is your highest rated.
Yeah.
Compare.
We definitely, I'm looking forward to having like a full episode at the end, just to go through. We'll do the graphs. I'm looking forward to the graphs.
I'm going to do all my data processing.
Yeah.
It's going to be very exciting.
And we'll go through everything and discuss it and see what's the Happy Brothers highest rated and lowest rated and all that jazz.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good. We're hitting some milestones.
We are.
We're close.
Yeah, we're very close to 5,000 total downloads.
5,000 total downloads. 200 followers on Twitter.
Yeah, we're getting close.
Very close.
Mm-hmm.
We just surpassed 50 on YouTube as well.
Did we?
50 subscribers.
There you go.
We did. So thank you
That's
all.
exciting.
If you are a new listener, welcome. If you are an old listener who has perhaps passed your findings on to your friends about this charming Scottish duo who like to talk about a 30-year-old show, then thank you.
Yeah.
And as always, we appreciate your continued support.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks for sticking around.
It's been a time.
It's appreciated.
And thank you very much to our few supporters on Ko-Fi as well.
Yes.
We have had a few donations as
Greatly
well.
appreciated.
As we've said in the previous episode, we put that together more as sort of an additional way to let you guys donate if you want to.
Yes.
Rather than be forced to suffer through adverts and various other sponsorship and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it is by no means obligatory or
we're going to keep
encouraged, but
going to keep putting the episodes out for free without ads.
Yep.
On all the audio platforms and on YouTube as usual.
We sure are. But we are very grateful to every one of you. And yeah, doing well. A little bit of housekeeping this week. We had a message from one of our lovely listeners. I think it was last week now. It's been a while now since who got in touch regarding a specific term that we used on, I think it was disc 2 of season 6, the Good Samaritan.
Yeah, episode 22, I think it was.
Yeah. There's a specific term that we used that I will not repeat again in the episode to describe the character of Crystal, the prostitute, that we used a couple of times, and we're kind of did make clear that it was not meant to be insulting in any way, but it is a term that is considered quite derogatory and in some cases a slur for trans folk. And the last thing we want to do is offend anyone, to to continue to use phrases like that, not knowing that they are offensive. So we are incredibly grateful to the listener who got in touch and just it wasn't like up in arms, like, how dare you? It was very respectful, just saying like, look, this isn't, appreciate it if you didn't use that term, kind of thing. So the episodes have been edited, so that particular word is edited out. We said we would make you guys aware as well, just to say, look, it was part of the episode, it is now not part of the episode, it will not be a word used from now on. And just to reiterate that, like, this podcast is an inclusive podcast for all of you, as long as you are respectful to others as well. Yeah. There's no place for bigotry here.
Absolutely not. This is a space for everybody.
Yep. And if there is any terms or any topics that we're talking about or anything like that make you uncomfortable or that you're not happy with, like, get in touch, let us know, give us feedback. I can't say that we'll always agree with it. If you come across it with some ridiculous request, like, don't use the word purple because I don't like that color. Yeah, I'd be like,
it seems unlikely that anyone is going to say that.
I know. I'm just saying there's a limit to. Yeah. In any case, there's always going to be a limit to how much we can alter what we say and what we think and how we feel. But there are obvious ones that if someone approaches us and explains why they're unhappy with the use of those words or whatever, then we are more than happy to accommodate and take action where action needs to be taken.
Yeah. And to learn and improve.
And learn and improve.
And be better.
Yeah. And ultimately, now we know that word is not cool.
It's not appropriate.
It's not cool. Yeah, it's not appropriate, and it shall not be used going forward. Yeah. So there we go. So yes, thank you guys for your continued feedback. It is appreciated, and we do take it on board. And without further ado, we'll get stuck into the episode, I think.
Yeah.
Unless you got any further words. You're just sitting there with your arms crossed.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Listening to me ramble.
I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, cool. Good. Right. Disc 3, Season 7.
Yep.
What does it start with?
They're playing our song.
They're playing our song.
A very strong start to the disc, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, I was expecting you to love this one.
So was I.
Oh, no.
So was I. This is what I was saying. There's been some unexpected changes of opinion.
Yeah. That is a shocker.
Yeah, I used to love this episode. I used to love it. It's all about Fraser writing a new theme song for his show. He's been approached by Kenny, who's wanting to, I guess, make the show kind of more accessible and more recognizable. Each of the individual.
Yeah, just get a bit of a hook.
Yeah. So we have a scene at the start with Gil does sort of a very theatrical sort of limerick.
Yeah.
For his show. It's very, very Gil. And Fraser, being Fraser, just goes so far over the top in producing this giant orchestral choir singing, Niles acting piece of music. It is ridiculous. It's amazing.
It's very funny.
But it's ridiculous. And I guess my issue with the episode is that the song's amazing and it's unique and it's funny, but there's not much else to the rest of the episode.
No.
It's kind of, Kenny says to Fraser to write a song. Fraser writes the song, and then like the last 10 minutes are them in the studio recording the song and then like having it played back to us.
Yeah.
As viewers, kind of thing. Like that's it.
Yeah.
There's not.
I enjoy. I think there's a lot of fun bits in between.
There are.
I enjoy. So we get so Fraser decides with Niles accompanying him. They're gonna write this jingle, and it's like the first pass that we don't even hear in the finished song.
Yeah.
I think is really funny. It's like Niles starts playing it on the piano and singing along, and I can't even remember what the lyrics are. I just remember yeah, playing the piano. It's very funny.
It's a fun little ditty.
Yeah. And it's just I just find the episode as a whole really funny. Like, I can understand that there isn't an awful lot to it.
Yeah.
It is just they get the setup of Fraser has to write a jingle.
Mm-hmm.
He's too stubborn to take anyone else's advice. And I think this kind of ties into something like Ham Radio, where we're seeing that Fraser is unable to relinquish any creative control at all.
Yeah.
He needs to have absolute control over something, and it means that it just gets completely out of hand, and he builds it up more and more, trying to make it perfect.
Because Martin comes in halfway through the episode. He's thought up just a little tune in the shower, and kind of offers it to Fraser for free. And Fraser's like, nah, I'm going to do this gigantic, expensive, ridiculous overture for the show. And it's, as you say, he needs to do everything. He needs to be in control of everything. And it does lead to some fantastic music, but not what you'd probably want to hear every single day at the start of the show.
No, probably not.
Maybe a little bit excessive.
I do think it's, and Niles doing the little spoken word monologue, and there's a choir, and the fanfare at the beginning. It's just I think everything about the song is hilarious. The using the slide whistle to represent manic depression or whatever. Was it
the trombone?
The trombone. The line when he says,
it's like flatulence or something, is it not? Chronic flatulence or something.
He says something about lurid desires at one point. I don't think that's the trombone, though.
No, I think that's the one before the trombone. But
strange compulsions or something.
Compulsions, maybe.
And then he plays the trombone, and then as soon as they finish the song and everyone's completely shocked, and Fraser and Niles run out to get champagne, and Niles just goes, "Oh, thank you." The trombone frightened me.
Yeah.
I love the episode. I think it's really funny. It's one of those ones that always gets a genuine laugh out of me. I can just sit and watch it by myself and just be howling with laughter every time.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Yeah,
I don't disagree. It is good fun. But I think my issue with it is that it focuses very hard on that last scene.
Yeah.
Or not the last scene, but the scene in the recording studio.
The whole kind of second half, really.
And everything else surrounding that is a bit kind of lackluster.
Yeah.
So it brings it down a little bit for me.
Fair enough.
How did you rank it then?
So I actually give it a 5.
A full 5.
This is a 5-cupper for me.
Full 5 cups. Okay.
Yeah. Being able to get a genuine hearty laugh out of me every time is that's a first step on the highway to a 5-cupper, as far as I'm concerned.
Just the first step.
The first step.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The rest of the steps are a lot more complicated.
Okay.
Yeah. I have a process.
Yeah. All internal. It's all up there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's fair. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I get why. And I probably 10 years ago would have given it a 5 as well. But coming at it with a fresh pair of eyes, it's only a 3.
Yeah?
It's only a 3 for me. And those 3 are all for the song.
Yeah.
They're dedicated to the song.
And there's just nothing else that brings it up.
There's really not. It's not awful, but there's just not really much to it.
Yeah.
The bit with Gil at the start is quite funny.
Mm-hmm.
Him giving his little sort of show tune, his hands. He has this sort of like little shoulder.
Oh yeah, he does a little
shoulder
dance.
swing. It's cute.
Yeah.
And Roz's boyfriend.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Leon.
Yeah.
With the triangle.
The triangle.
Think that's cute. But other than that, it's just the song. It's just the song that's great. I remember recording it on my little like Nokia 3310 or whatever it was. And like putting it right up to the speakers on my computer and then playing the episode and recording the song.
For your ringtone.
Using it as my ringtone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it's I don't know. I definitely thought more fondly of it in the past. I think I'm maybe being a little bit too harsh on it.
Fair enough. There have been plenty of episodes that I've gone into thinking this is definitely going to be a 5, and then pretty much immediately, like when watching the episode and looking at it really critically and not just going into it thinking that it's fun, have felt differently. I know there was one at the beginning of season 2. I think The Matchmaker, I thought I was going to give a 5 and then I only gave a 4.
I don't remember.
Maybe,
but yeah.
I don't remember. And then I remember in that same episode giving The Unkindest Cut of All a 5, which surprised me. I didn't expect. You know, they change.
They change, and that's the beauty of
opinions
it.
change, but this is still a 5 for me.
Good.
Unfortunately, I think it's the high point of the disc.
Oh, is it?
Not the rest of the episodes are bad.
Okay.
There are other good episodes in here.
But that is the highest.
It is still the highest.
Okay, so it's not the highest for me, so this is going to be interesting going through it. Next up, Big Crane on Campus. Fraser bumps into an old acquaintance from high school, Lorna Lenley.
Lorna Linley, yeah.
Lenley. It's not even Lorna later on anyway.
It's not, no.
She does make a reappearance.
Soon to be renamed in about a season's time.
Is it Lana?
Lana Gardner is her name at the end of season 8 when they reintroduce her.
It's very bizarre.
Because there was a real person called Lorna Linley.
That's right.
I don't know if it's someone that was connected with the show or if it's a famous person or whatever.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, I do remember reading that.
For whatever reason, they had to change her name.
Yeah.
To avoid being connected with this real person.
Yeah. No, you're right. I do remember.
Which is
that.
Fair enough, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess. But Lorna, as she's known in this episode, was the high school queen, the popular girl that everyone, all the ladies wanted to be and the lads wanted to be with, as the old phrase goes.
Yeah.
And Fraser still feels that way when he sees her again in Cafe Nervosa. 30 years later?
Oh, must be
35 years later. How old are they at this point? It's just
Fraser would be in his mid to late 40s.
Yeah, so 30 years then.
About 30 years.
He does not get the courage to ask her out, but invites her over under the pretense of valuating his house. She says she's a real estate agent or... Yeah, it's just real estate agent, she says, isn't it? Yeah, it's not just like valuer. Gets her back to his house, and then at that point he manages to find the courage to ask her out on a date, which is kind of cute. And up until this point, she has been the perfect lady. She has been very kind and hanging on his every word, and obviously very attracted to him. Walking around his big fancy flat and complimenting everything, and just giving off them good vibes. But then after they come back home, spend the night together, and wake up in the morning, turns from Dr. Jekyll into Mr. Hyde. Yeah? Is that the right way around? Is Mr. Hyde the bad one?
Mr. Hyde's the bad one.
Yeah, okay. So she becomes Mr. Hyde.
Yeah.
She's not that bad. But she's just, I think she was clearly in a good mood the previous day.
Very crass. Smoking. I love the bit. She wakes up and she's got a headache, but they'd been drinking wine the night before. She goes to take some painkillers, take some aspirin or whatever, and Fraser says, "Oh, can I get you some water?" And then she just downs it with the rest of this glass of wine. And it's like 9 a.m. or something. I find that very funny. Alcoholism isn't funny, but that's funny.
Jean Smart, who plays Lorna,
she's wonderful.
Is just phenomenal. She's
fantastic.
So good. I am so glad that she's getting more recognition these days.
Yep.
Through the likes of Hacks, Watchmen. There's another one she was in recently. Oh god, that's really bad. She was in 24.
She was in 24. Yeah, that was one of the things that I knew her more for.
But she's just such a phenomenal actor. She won 2 Primetime Emmys. Yeah, for a guest star on Frasier.
One was this episode, I believe.
One was this episode, and one was another later on. And yeah, I noted this down. I know you're normally the one who does guest things, but she is only the second actress after Betty White, God rest her lovely soul, to win all 3 Comedy Emmy nominations.
Really?
How about that? Quite deserved, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like Jean Smart. I love Betty White as well.
Yeah.
Just want to get that in there. I miss Betty White.
I know.
I was watching Community the other night.
Yeah.
She's a guest star
in the episode when she's in it. Yeah.
And she's just so good.
She is really good in
I
that.
just love her, man.
I was talking with my friends about Community the other day because they're doing a film.
They are.
Yeah.
It's been confirmed.
They're confirmed they're doing it because they've been the 6 seasons that was already passed, haven't they?
Seasons,
so now they're doing the movie.
Yeah. There you go. Community podcast.
No.
No. Okay.
It's a shame because this is the thing that we were talking about. I can't watch Community.
Oh.
I get really frustrated by it because I think it's about 95% perfect, and the fact that it's got Chevy Chase in it, and as the character of Pierce, it makes the show completely unwatchable.
Really?
And I'm completely baffled by how they managed to take everything else about the show is fantastic. The writing's great, the plot's great, all the other characters are great, and then they just make it completely unwatchable by putting the character of Pierce in. He's not even fun to hate. He just makes the show unpleasant to watch. Okay,
we're gonna put Fraser on pause for a second while we talk about Community. You're wrong.
No, I stand by that.
I completely agree that Chevy Chase is not a particularly good human being.
No, Chevy Chase is a horrible person.
But Pierce in Community is so funny. There's something so on point about like the portrayal of people like that in real life, like the proper Donald Trump characters. There's something so funny about like the way that he's written and the way that he interacts with other characters. Like it's proper satire.
If he was a one-off antagonist, I would agree. No, the fact that he is in pretty much every episode as like one of the central characters in every one,
well.
Can't stand it.
There's the odd episode where he is unbearable, like he's so cruel or horrible in one way or another that it does make it difficult to watch. But in general, most of the time, I think he's great. I think he's so funny.
No.
Okay, we might actually need to do
it. No.
Right, okay, back to Fraser. Okay.
Yeah.
So Lorna, played by Jean Smart, also rest in peace, Betty White.
Yes.
Wakes up in the morning. She's a completely different person. She's rude. She's brash. She's loud. She's screaming at her kids on the phone. Fraser immediately knows he needs to break it off with her. But before he can, she mentions to him that it's their old the high school
coach is retiring. Yeah.
Is retiring, so there's sort of like a reunion type event going on at the high school. So she kind of entices him to go by saying, "Oh, we're going to see the old gang, and you know, you can. I'll hang on your arm, and we can walk through the doors and see the look on everyone's faces, and kind of going at that, and that gives Fraser the motivation to stick at it for a little while longer.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when they get to the high school, she is back on the phone with her kids, screaming at them again. Put your brother on. Put your brother on. Put your brother on. It's so funny.
I love her when she first does it and she's on the phone and she's screaming and she's sitting in Fraser's bed and she's just necked this glass of wine. She's got a cigarette hanging from her lips. She's screaming on the phone, "Put your brother on the phone!" And then Fraser turns and looks at her and she just immediately takes the phone away and just goes, "This is nice." And she's got like still the cigarette hanging from her lips. She's just been screaming. She's all red-faced. It's so funny. And Jean Smart is
so good.
Fantastic. I couldn't be in a room with a character like Lorna or Lana or whatever you want to call her. But Jean Smart is fantastic. She's
it's
so,
the fact that
so
she's so
funny.
like innocuous at the start. Yeah. She's just totally pleasant to be around. And this lovely lady who's just sort of catching up and saying hi. It just transforms in the way that Jean Smart does it. Just it's amazing. I love it. Right, where did I get to? You distracted me.
Sorry.
I think I distracted myself. It's
so
fine.
they get to the end. They go to the
high school.
The party.
Fraser does kind of come clean and breaks it off with her, and she doesn't let him. She says, "Absolutely not. Not as we're about to walk into this room with all my old classmates. We're going to go in there. I'm going to hold your hand. We're going to drink some wine. We're going to leave with your hand on my ass. And we're going to have a great evening. And Fraser's just like, okay.
Yeah.
And that's that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the end of Lorna for now. Well, it's the end of Lorna forever.
It's the end of she comes back.
Comes back as Lana.
Yeah.
In a week. I don't actually remember when. Is it end of season 8? End of season 9?
End of season 8.
End of season 8, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good little arc. I like that.
It is, yeah.
So we will see her again soon, thankfully. The episode itself, it's kind of middle of the road-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Jean Smart is definitely the highlight, without question.
Yep.
I think there are very few actors that could have played Lorna as well as her.
Yeah, there aren't many.
No one as good as her.
No one as good as her, but
there are very few that could have made the character as interesting.
Yeah.
And I think if it had been just a sort of generic guest actor for the role, it would not have been as appealing as an episode.
Yeah.
I like seeing sort of connections to Fraser's past. We hear so much about like Fraser and Niles.
Yeah.
About their high school and prep school time and all that jazz. So it's nice to actually see someone from back then.
Mm-hmm. Especially someone that isn't a bully, which seems to be every other character that they meet from high school was a bully.
Yeah. So that's good. But other than that, it's just kind of an episode.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot to it.
There is a part of this episode that I really like.
Okay.
Unrelated to Lorna and Fraser. There's a little
about.
B plot. So Niles it's Mel's birthday.
Yep.
Niles is still with Mel and he decides that he's gonna make her dinner.
Yep.
But they can't go to the Montana for some reason that I have forgotten.
Yeah, I can't remember.
It's getting fumigated or it's getting carpeted or something. I can't remember. For whatever reason, they can't go. So he uses Fraser's apartment and enlists Daphne to help cooking. Mm-hmm. And there's a very sweet scene with Daphne and Niles cooking dinner together. And they've opened a bottle of wine, they're having a drink, they're having a laugh with each other. They're clearly just getting along very, very well. You know, not forgetting that just a few episodes, Daphne found out about Niles having feelings for her. Mm-hmm. And when Niles burns his hand, Daphne starts rubbing aloe vera lotion on his hand very tenderly and is kind of just standing, rubbing his hand and holding his hand. And it's very sweet.
It is very sweet.
Yeah, it's very sweet. I like it. I just enjoy watching it. I think it really shows how... Because it's been so one-sided up until now. Mm-hmm. We've never had... Like, Daphne hasn't known, so we've never had the opportunity to show how the two of them could be super compatible. Mm-hmm. With the exception of something like First Date, when's that end of season 5?
Yeah, that's true.
You know, it's kind of similar to that in a way, of the two of them just sort of being domestic together, but having a laugh and clearly getting along so well as friends, but in a domestic setting, like they're already like an established couple.
Yeah.
I just think it's very sweet. I like watching it.
I don't disagree. It is a nice little scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got another couple of
little
wee moments like bits. That coming up.
One in this disc.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least one in this disc. When's the other one?
I don't remember. Maybe it's the next disc.
Is it something about Dr. Mary? There's one where Daphne goes out to buy bran flakes and she's kind of gone the whole episode.
That's later on.
And is that later or is that the final disc?
Yeah, that's definitely the final disc.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not this disc.
It's not this disc.
No.
Well, there is one. Yeah. Anyway, so we've got that. So what did you give it then?
I gave it
Big Crane on Campus.
Big Crane on Campus, a 3.
Big 3 on Campus.
Big 3 on Campus.
Yeah.
Fraser, Lorna, and his ego.
Yeah. Same for me.
Same for you.
Big 3.
It's a decent episode. But that's about it.
Yeah.
What are you smirking at?
I'm just... the phrase big fat thrupper just popped into my head.
Why?
like a 3-cupper, but it's a thrupper. And I don't know why.
A big fat thrupper.
Yeah. I don't even know exactly what that means, and it sounds really dirty, and it just made me laugh.
Okay.
And that's going to be in my head every time I give something 3 cups from now on.
Oh, you've ruined 3 cups now.
I know.
And this is not a good disc for you to have thought of something funny for a 3-cupper.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
What have you done?
I've been looking for something that's going to stop me from just giving all of the episodes 3 cups, and this might be it. The phrase fat thrupper.
I'm going to start giving them more. I'm going to give them more thruppers.
We're going to have to round it up to a 4 to avoid the thruppers.
Oh, you're the worst.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, right, moving on from one thrupper to another.
Oh no.
Out with Dad.
Out with Dad
is the next episode. We have another Valentine's Day episode, although that's not really the central point of the plot.
Nah, not really.
Daphne, Roz, and Martin are preparing for a night in. Fraser and Niles are preparing for a night out. But Mel, who was originally out of town, has come back, or her conference got cancelled, I think it is.
Yeah.
So Niles is actually going out with her on a date, leaving Fraser high and dry. He was hoping to catch the eye of a lovely young lady along at the opera by the name of Emily. But he now can't go, or he refuses to go by himself.
Yeah.
So Martin agrees to go with him. The two of them go and attend the opera, and it's very funny. Martin trying to find something to enjoy about it. But he does help catch the eye of young Emily and Emily's mother, who takes a liking to Martin.
Yes.
Martin does not take a liking to her and pretends to be gay.
Yeah.
Instead of letting her down nicely, which is so kind of him.
In theory, it is. It winds up biting him in the ass.
I mean, I was being sarcastic. It's not really kind of him. It's pretty cruel.
No, I think that's fair enough. It's a little white lie. I mean, letting someone down gently by saying like, actually, I don't go that way. I'm not attracted to whichever gender you are. I mean, maybe not. Don't say that out loud because that sounds a bit weird. But like, I guess. Saying I'm gay or I'm straight or whatever, I don't swing that way, is probably a much nicer way to let someone down than saying I'm not attracted to you.
Well, no, but you should be able to say, sorry, I'm not interested. And that should be the end of it.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. It shouldn't be a big deal. But
anyway,
I can see why he did it.
Yeah, he was just trying to get out of it, and he wasn't expecting to see her again, so just kind of rolled with it.
Yeah.
As you say, it does bite him in the ass a little bit.
It does.
When Emily comes over for after opera drinks and brings her uncle, her art dealership partner.
Yeah.
I want to say Brian. Brian's the actor.
Brian is the actor.
Edward. Sorry.
Yeah.
I love him. I think
he is
great.
fantastic.
I think he's a really great
funny.
little guest star. Played by I wrote everyone down this time.
Brian Bedford.
Thank you. Brian Bedford. A very accomplished stage actor.
Some people might recognize his voice because he was the voice of Disney's Robin Hood.
He was.
The Fox Robin Hood that everyone fancies.
Yeah. Not how I would phrase it, but sure. Yeah,
he's a sexy fox. Sue me.
You're editing this one. You
I
have,
know,
you have the
I
power
am.
to take that out if you want.
Nah.
I'm
not a coward.
Multiple Tony Award winner.
Yes.
Which actually, Mary Louise Wilson, who plays Emily's mother, also a multi-Tony Award winner.
Yep.
And Marge Helgenberger, who plays Emily, very accomplished TV actor. Had a recurring role on CSI, I believe. So very famous guest stars, multiple guest stars in this episode.
Every time I think of this episode, if I'm just kind of like picturing it in my head, I always have to remind myself that Emily isn't played by Parker Posey. Because I think they look very similar, and they have quite a similar... Parker Posey's maybe a little bit more out there. But I think similar level of charm, which is nice.
Yeah.
I always like Parker Posey and think she's very charming, so that is meant as a compliment. That
I think
always confusing them.
Edward kind of takes a bit more center stage. I always feel Emily gets a little bit of a back role.
As much as she is Fraser's love interest, once Edward's there, it's more the farce of Martin trying to continue pretending to be gay.
Yeah, and that's it for the rest of the episode. Once they get back to the flat, Martin's trying to keep up this charade going on and pretending that he's gay. Mm-hmm. And it's we've been here before, where there's sort of this very almost progressive attitude towards homosexuality in Frasier, even though the plot revolves around Martin pretending to be gay, and even though there are some sort of stereotypes-ish that Martin uses in his act.
Yeah.
The inclusion of a character like Edward, who is just openly gay and just there's nothing offensive about his character. There's nothing stereotypical about his character. Well,
a little bit.
He's into art, kind of
camp and flamboyant in the usual, but in the usual ways, but not in an offensive way.
Over the top. He's not a caricature of a gay person. He's a very, and he's a great guest character as well. I think he's great. I love him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it just, there's something very progressive about all that. We spoke before about and I can't remember his name. You know his name, the YouTuber who does the series on
Matt Baum
did I think a couple of episodes on homosexuality in Frasier. It's really interesting actually watching it back.
Fascinating little set of episodes,
definitely worth a watch as well. But
as are the rest of his episodes.
His other stuff is
obviously
well.
We're recommending the Frasier ones, being a Frasier podcast, but all of his videos are very interesting.
But it's just kind of interesting that you have all these other sitcoms at the time, and the fact that Frasier kind of stands out as being very accepting, and even though they have these jokes surrounding these scenarios, there's nothing sort of pointedly offensive about it.
No.
Even Martin, who's kind of a bit shocked when he finds out that Edward is gay and is coming on to him, there's a bit of like, oh no. And it's just kind of that's Martin's character.
Yeah.
He's a bit old school. He's not really down with the kids.
Yeah.
He keeps himself to himself. But that's just part of the character. It's not like, oh no, a gay person coming on to me. There's no big deal made about it, anything like that. That there have been in other sitcoms.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
That there are offensive stereotypes. Like, I'm not going to list them off, but I can think of a couple at least. And here it's just it's just nice. It's just nice having the inclusion of a variety of different characters. I love the farce.
It's very funny.
There's a bit of farce back and forward. Niles has to pretend to be Martin's boyfriend for a little while, which is a little bit weird. It is weird. It's funny. And then it ends with a really touching moment. Edward asks Martin out. Well, he asks him out early in the episode. That's before Niles comes in. Martin politely turns him down again, and he doesn't pursue it again. And then at the end of the episode, Edward decides to leave. Emily is his ride. And Martin says, no, let me take him. You two have a nice night. Fraser and Emily, you stay here, have a nice night.
Yeah.
And there's something really nice about that, because there's times in previous episodes where Martin has explicitly said things like, oh, like what two guys do together, that's none of my business. Phrases like that is kind of like, I don't care what they do, just keep it to themselves kind of attitude. But here he's very much like that. Edward's a nice guy. I'm getting along with him. We have a lot of similar interests. Okay, we're not going to start dating, but it's. I don't want to say the word humanizing, because that sounds like normally gay people are dehumanized, when that's not necessarily the case. But in some places they are.
Mm-hmm.
And here it very much feels like Martin is being, I don't know. He's just kind of he's kind of accepting of
he's just being very accepting
of Edward and doing something nice for Fraser and Emily. And it's just it's a really nice scene. I really like it. I really love Edward.
That is one of the things
such a good
I like, is that one of the thing that Martin and Edward clearly have very little in common. They're totally different people. I mean, Martin talks about how much he hates opera at the beginning, and then the thing that they kind of bond over, or the thing that they very clearly have in common, is they talk about like the things you're willing to do to keep your sons happy. Edward talks about how his son is a professional bowler, and he kind of says like, I go and join him when I can. I don't enjoy it, but I go and I like going to spend time with my son and doing what I can to make him happy, because it's what we do as dads. And obviously that's kind of reflected in Martin going to the opera with Fraser to help him meet Emily, and then I suppose kind of taking one for the team and offering to like drive Edward home in order to let Fraser have a bit more time with Emily when they're clearly hitting it off, And I like that. It's nice. They're clearly good dads, and they, as different as they are, they're always going to have that in common and kind of be able to enjoy each other's company because of that.
Do you think they're that different?
I think so.
Do you?
Although there is definitely probably a lot of similarities between Edward and John Mahoney. I don't know if that's intentional. There are probably some subtle jokes, I think, in there about, like, Martin talks about how much he doesn't like opera, although John Mahoney in real life was a big fan of opera. Yeah. He talks about how he doesn't drink wine and only drinks beer, although John Mahoney was a big fan of, I said big fan of wine, as if he was like some kind of, wino. He was known to enjoy wine. Yeah. Appreciate wine. He was an enophile. And he makes a joke about, because Edward's English, he says like, oh, well, doesn't he sound gay? And Martin says like, oh, he's English, they all sound gay to me.
I love that joke.
Because John Mahoney, funny. As much as he doesn't have his English accent anymore, is from Manchester, and also as he wasn't publicly out, but it was kind of common knowledge that he wasn't straight as well. And I don't know, I think
I disagree. If I'm being honest, I disagree. I think they have their differences.
Yeah.
So things like Edward's obviously more into his art and his opera, and Martin's into like his football and sports and whatever else. But they both like a beer. They both like spending time with their kids. They bond over that, obviously. Yeah. They both love their dogs.
That's true. Jack Russells.
They both are very personable. They're both just sort of very chill, very relaxed guys.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got the impression I've always been under the impression that they're quite similar folk.
Yeah.
They've got like different interests, but just very similar attitudes.
That's very true. Maybe, surface level big differences, but deep down, probably have a lot of the same values and things.
Yeah.
That's true. It's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm bumping my rating up.
Yeah.
The more I'm talking about it. Yeah. And also because I don't want to have to use the word thropper.
You don't want to give this a big fat thropper.
I'm bumping it up to a 4.
Imagine me. I also gave it a 4.
A 4.
Yeah. I just think it's a really funny episode. I think it's got a nice little bit of heart.
It does. Yeah, no, it really does.
We're really seeing Martin making, concessions, I guess, to spend time with Fraser. We've seen Fraser and Niles a couple of times, or we've heard of them a couple of times going to see Jean-Claude Van Damme movies and going to the basketball and stuff like that. And now this is Martin going with them to the opera. And, it goes both ways, and it's nice seeing them spending the time together.
Yeah. Accompanied with some great guest stars.
We've got
a winning episode. Like, I think it's
so.
Really solid. I think it lacks a little bit at the opera. I think the start of the episode.
Yeah.
And the fact they kind of brush Roz and Daphne aside as well.
Yeah.
They're sitting watching romantic movies to cry over. And that just kind of gets forgotten about.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but it's not quite a 5, you know? Like, there needs to be a little bit more if we're going to get a 5 out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But good. I'm glad we're in agreement. Now, anyway. We weren't before we talked about it, but we are now.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Next up. Something About Dr. Mary. When did Something About Mary come out? Obviously before this.
Yeah. Late 90s. Oh.
Was it late 90s?
It would have been.
I don't know why I thought it was like mid-2000s, but obviously it can't have been.
Yeah, I think I always think it was later than... I've never actually seen it.
Neither have I.
But it was one of Cameron Diaz's earlier films, right? Because it was kind of...
Isn't it?
Yeah, I think he had been in more stuff before then. Well, he did like SNL,
yeah,
I think.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Which that was kind of around 1990, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So probably around the same time The Mask came out, which probably doesn't help because I don't actually know when The Mask came out either. But I'm thinking that
was like 94, 95.
That was Cameron Diaz's first film, and I think this must have been very shortly after that.
Okay. Before 2001,
yes.
anyway.
Yeah.
So, or 2000.
2000?
2000 is season 7, yeah. Something About Dr. Mary. That's the plot is Something About Dr. Mary.
Sure is.
Roz is away on holiday. And instead of hiring Chuck, poor man with a bit of a lisp,
yeah,
Fraser has elected to hire someone new for the week. He settles on, well, whether he settles on or she is hired by the station. Mary Thomas, who is currently was a baker, who is trying to get into the producer game.
Yeah,
doing evening classes and stuff. Good for her. Has landed the role, and it's a bit of a rocky start. She's first not really confident in giving names, introducing herself, things like that, and then very quickly goes to the opposite end of the scale and is very intrusive on Fraser's show.
Yeah,
and interrupting him and taking over calls and things like that. It's very clear from the get-go that they're not going to get on well. But Fraser, being Fraser, does not want to say anything because Mary happens to be black.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to be considered racist. I hate it.
It's so... It is, yeah, it's really annoying seeing him act like that because it's so condescending to... have that attitude of like, I think they're going to react badly because they're black. It's not
in that attitude is inherently racist,
you know. Yes, it's very frustrating.
It's a bit of a similar plot we've seen before with The Friend.
Yes,
remember Shish Kebab?
I think we maybe mentioned at the time that there was kind of
I think we did
a similar thing here.
So where Bob was disabled and Fraser was afraid of hurting his feelings, I guess, based solely on the fact that he was disabled. Here, Fraser's afraid of hurting Mary's feelings based solely on the fact that she happens to be black. It's very uncomfortable to watch. Even though she's not really part of it, she's not part of Fraser's like thought process throughout most of the episode.
Yeah.
She just kind of is progressing quite nicely. Everyone loves her. Everyone at KSL loves her. Kenny keeps giving her promotions. She gets the permanent position first.
Yeah.
Taking over from Roz, which is, for me, that would be the big thing, right? That would be the point where I was like, absolutely not. Like, I don't care who you are. Roz is my producer.
Like, yeah, that kind of doesn't make an awful lot of sense. I mean, we saw a season ago with Dr. Nora that they at least considered for a time taking on a second radio psychiatrist. As far as we know, they didn't go ahead with that after things went so badly with Dr. Nora. But there's no reason why they couldn't have gone, oh, Dr. Mary's great, but we want to keep Roz and Fraser together because they're the team.
Yeah.
give Dr. Mary her own show.
Yep.
That would have worked fine, but no.
No, they bring her on as sort of a co-host for a while as well. And then they hire another producer. Yeah. That always, it's a really weird process.
Yeah. Well, if the two, Mary wouldn't be able to do like the call screening and stuff.
Aye, but what I mean is, why wouldn't you hire Roz?
Oh, that's true. That's a good point. Why wouldn't you? Why would
Roz not come back as a producer and then Fraser and Mary do the show together? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Because Roz has been booted off to do Gil's show. She jokes about his taste buds being insured.
Oh God,
makes me laugh.
Oh, Gil.
But yeah, Dr. Mary, as she is then known after one of the callers calls her that, she takes on the mantle of Dr. Mary.
I think she just does it herself, does she not?
No, it's one of the callers.
Oh, does someone call her Dr.
Says,
Mary?
Thanks, Dr. Mary. And then she kind of says, or Fraser says, not to be pedantic, but she's not actually a doctor, calling her out on air. She says, like, it's fine, I don't mind. I'll be a doctor if you want. Yeah. Obviously, it doesn't go down well with Fraser.
Yeah.
But it eventually boils over. Fraser does tell her in the end. He has the worst bit of the episode for me is the conversation he has with Niles.
Yeah.
So Martin calls him out from the start. Sorry, let's just say Martin says, look, you're afraid to say something because she's black, aren't you? He calls him out right from the start. Niles eventually agrees with him, and they do a little bit of role playing where Fraser plays Dr. Mary, and Niles sort of plays along with what Fraser should say to let her down easily.
Yeah.
And it's so incredibly racist.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's just, like, there's no words.
He's not even acting like Mary acts.
Yeah.
He's clearly just acting based on his stereotype of a black woman.
Correct.
Which is horribly offensive.
Oh, yes. There's certain words that he uses that are a little bit like words that you might not even get on air these days.
No, I wouldn't
in a sense like this.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's censored on the TV version.
It's horrible. It's really bad, and it's really insulting as well. Just beyond anything else, it's so insulting to Mary, who is just lovely.
Yeah.
Like, okay, they don't get along professionally, but she's such a nice person, and that shows even after Fraser speaks to her and kind of does let her down easily, and she's kind of like, I mean, it all worked out for the best.
Yeah.
I wish you'd said something sooner, but if you hadn't, then I wouldn't have been offered my own job elsewhere. And she goes off and starts her own career.
And is probably much more successful than Fraser is.
Yeah.
Because, you know what I started thinking about when I was writing my notes for this? I would probably much rather listen to Dr. Mary's show than Fraser's show.
Yeah.
Not least because, and I think Fraser kind of says, our styles of advice that we give to the callers is totally different. And that's because Fraser's advice pretty much every time boils down to someone calls in and says, this is the problem I'm having. And he goes, well, it's a very serious, complex problem. You should see a therapist. Moves on to the next person. That's the only advice that he gives.
Yeah.
And we've got with two people calling, a couple of guest callers. I'll go through the voices later on, but Gabe calls in and says that he's addicted to shopping. He has a shopping addiction. And Fraser says there's no easy solution. You need to go to therapy and talk this through, and it's a big thing. And Mary says, cut up your credit cards. Take your credit cards out and cut them up. And that's very good advice. She's got a
very ruthless attitude.
Yeah.
And
someone else Maria calls and is talking about how she thinks her husband's cheating on her, and it's not the first time that it's happened. And Fraser says, you should go to couples counseling. You should, talk to him and talk it out and all this. And Mary says, no, get him out in the dog, kick him out, change your locks. Yeah. Don't give this guy another chance. He's clearly not worth it, which is very good advice.
I'm all for it.
I'm aware that infidelity, especially when you're married, is a very complicated thing. Just because someone cheats once doesn't mean that there's no chance of the relationship ever working again. But 99% of the time, that is the case. Yeah. And at least in my opinion, and if especially if they'd done it once before, at least once before. You know, you wouldn't catch me wanting to go to couples therapy if someone cheated on me.
Yeah.
So I think Mary just gives much better advice than Frasier does.
I don't disagree. Yeah, and she's very to the point as well, which is kind of what the whole Colin show thing is about.
Yeah. So
arguably, she is even just a better host than Frasier 100%. is. 100%. You know,
her advice isn't just better; it's also more entertaining. She's got her little idioms and her little, you know, Grandpa Willie aphorisms. You know, they're funny.
Yeah, no, they are, and
not
I really
even
like
just in a sitcom sense. But if someone was actually dishing out advice like that on the radio, it would be entertaining and interesting to listen to.
Absolutely. So good for her. She got away from Frasier, starting her own career, and he's stuck being a racist idiot.
He is. Oh boy.
Tiny little B plot here as well,
mm-hmm.
with Niles and his kickboxing.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Niles clearly just has no idea of what to do when it comes to sports or any form of athleticism.
Mm-hmm.
He gets his yellow belt in kickboxing to defend Mel from irate patients.
Yes.
And he accidentally kicks Daphne over a table.
Yeah.
When demonstrating a roundhouse kick. Yeah, poor Daphne. That's it, actually. I thought there was more to the plot, but that's actually pretty much it.
That's pretty much it. And then he decides to take on the duties of cooking dinner, and
he takes over some chores and
takes it very seriously.
Helps out a little bit.
Yeah. I think the sound of him doing the kick, I think, is really funny. He kind of goes hoo ha as he like spins around, and it's I do enjoy that.
I love Martin's phrase. It's from one of the earlier episodes, but his phrase, and it's like, you got to wonder what's going on in those squash courts.
Yeah.
Because just every time they try and do something physical, someone gets hurt.
Yeah, it is. Oh man.
Yeah, good.
Mm-hmm.
You want to do guest stars? We've got Kim Coles.
For one thing, yes, Kim Coles,
who plays Dr. Mary,
had been in Living Colour, which was kind of a sketch show kind of similar to Saturday Night Live. It was where Jim Carrey got his start.
All right.
Along with lots of other great... I think... I don't want to say that it was seen as kind of like the black equivalent of SNL, but there were probably a lot more people of colour in Living Colour than there were on Saturday Night Live, and I think that kind of is where it got a little bit of its... reputation, as if it's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, but that's kind
reputation's a good thing.
Yeah.
If you said notoriety.
No, that's true. Not notoriety. That was a little bit of what it's known for. Anyway, in Living Colour, and also Living Single, which was a few years, 93, which was a sitcom with, I don't want to get this wrong, but I think that was the one with Queen Latifah in it, wasn't it?
I don't know. But you're going to come across very bad if you're wrong.
I know. Because there was something that Kim Coles and Queen Latifah appeared in together, because there's a joke when someone says Dr. Mary isn't... Frasier kind of says, Dr. Mary isn't a real doctor. And she says, but you know Latifah's not a real queen, right? And I think that was maybe an intentional reference, because they had worked together in something, and I think it was Living Single that they worked together on.
It is Queen Latifah.
Yeah, it is, yeah. I wouldn't have been saying that. Okay, never mind. We're moving on before I say anything stupid. Anyway, so we got the two callers, Gabe and Maria, who I mentioned. Yeah. Gabe was voiced by Isaac Mizrahi, who is a fashion designer and did a lot of like appearing as himself in like non-fiction TV roles. He was in like Project Runway.
All right.
I think he did like the celebrity one and like the Canadian one or something.
I don't recognize the name.
I'm unfortunately not particularly into these like fashion competition shows. But he was in stuff like that. And Maria is voiced by Gloria Estefan, the singer, well-known singer, Gloria Estefan.
Do the conga,
yeah, that Gloria Estefan.
Conga. That's the only song I know of hers.
I know. Unfortunately, I don't know much Gloria Estefan. Anyway, so
you want to do ratings?
Ratings?
Do we do ratings?
Pretty good one. We've not done ratings yet.
No.
So this is a 2 for me. Unfortunately. Am I being more generous than you?
I was just hoping we'd get another big fat thropper.
No, it's not a big fat thropper.
It's for
the
me.
more we say it, the less funny it is. So unfortunately, it's probably just going to settle into the vocabulary, I think.
That's fine. Well, I gave it a big fat thropper.
You gave it a big fat thropper.
I
Well,
did.
good for you. If we ever are in a position to do merch, that's got to go on some merch, right?
Big fat thropper.
Big fat thropper. We can get mugs with that on it. We can get those big mugs, like the Sports Direct mugs, with big fat thropper on them.
I'm gonna note that down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a 2 for me. So is it a 3 for you?
It is a 3 for me.
It's a 3 for you. Yeah. Yeah, it's more the fact that as much as I enjoy seeing Dr. Mary as a character, I think a lot of the dialogue that she's given isn't necessarily written to be entertaining in its own right. I think it is in a way, but it's also written as like antagonistic towards Fraser, sort of. I know that we're not necessarily just supposed to be seeing this from Fraser's point of view. Obviously, we aren't, because we think he's in the wrong. But there is an aspect of like she's written as an annoying character because Fraser, being the main character, is taking a dislike to her, so the audience is kind of expected to as well. So they're like, it's sort of downplaying how entertaining and fun and likable of a character she actually is.
No, that's true.
That's true. Which sort of sucks.
Yeah.
Huge downward trajectory in points because of Fraser's absolute nonsense.
Fraser takes a big L in this episode.
Yeah.
He really
absolute caucasity. And then we've got this little B plot. It's like kind of funny, but
it doesn't lead
nothing.
Anywhere.
It's nothing especially interesting. So yeah, all in all, it's like, Dr. Mary earns it 1 point, which puts it up to a 2.
I guess.
Everything else is a bit.
I don't know. I mean, if we take the whole Fraser being pretty outright racist, if we kind of ignore that, if you can ignore that for most of the episode, we've got a great guest star. Yeah, we've got a great character introduction of Dr. Mary, who does make a return at one point. I think she's really entertaining. I think she's really lovely. I think it kind of, I disagree with you, to be honest. I've disagreed with you a lot this disc. But I kind of see her as exposing Fraser as the antagonist.
Yeah.
So what you're saying about her sort of being quite antagonistic in terms of the dialogue, I view it as her just being a fun, entertaining character. Yeah. And Fraser taking offense to that and kind of puts him in the wrong. Might just be the way I'm looking at it. Yeah. But I kind of see it more that way. Yeah. And I like people that wind Fraser up because it's funny.
That is true. It is funny.
But yeah, no, I mean, I like Kim Coles. I think she's really great. I never particularly used to like this episode. I think I did view it more as like Dr. Mary is this kind of annoying, loudmouth character that gets in Fraser's way. But I've definitely turned it around to the opposite now. I think she is entertaining, just really lovely. And yeah, anyone that gets on Fraser's bad side is generally in my good books. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so that's Dr. Mary. Whine Club.
Whine Club.
Whine rather than just wine. Although it is also about Whine Club.
It is about Whine Club.
Right, this is a weird one, right? I noted this down as well. Do you feel like this episode has 2 plots?
Yeah.
It kind of splits in the middle.
It is one of those ones where it's got quite a distinct switch. Yeah. I feel like when I have watched it before, I have usually gotten the second half. I've always thought that the second half is in another episode.
Yeah, it feels almost like a 2-parter, right?
Yeah, they're connected, but not pretty loosely.
Yeah. So the overarching plot is kind of one of 2. The overarching plot is kind of Mel is becoming more involved in Niall's life, and she's taking a bit more of a front foot in decisions that he's making in his life, in bigger decisions. That's the kind of overarching plot. There's then the first half of the episode is all about the Whine Club electing a new president.
A new cork master.
A new cork master, sorry, I should say.
Got to use the correct term.
Fraser has been rallying for it and wants the position, but Mel kind of twists Niall's arm to go for it as well. I don't strictly disagree with this part, because Niles does kind of admit to Mel that he wanted it as well, but stood aside because of Fraser, even though he has just as much right to it as Fraser does. Yeah. So really, there's nothing that wrong with it. But they both go head to head. They get equal votes in the club, and then they have to do a blind taste test.
Yeah, it's very funny.
Great little sequence. I do love it. I still joke about why go Merlot when you can call a cab?
Yeah.
Which makes zero sense, by the way.
I don't know what that means.
I have no idea.
I don't know what that means.
To mean. But it's hilarious.
Funny. There's lots of good wine humor in this one. This one, there's also the prepare to be stomped like a late harvest Gewürztraminer, which is just a great little line.
No, it is. It's a great little sequence. But Niles does eventually reign supreme. And becomes Corkmaster. They sing. What's the tune?
It's the tune of Rule Britannia.
Yeah, Rule Britannia. That's the one. Hail Corkmaster, master of the cork. He knows what wine goes with wine or with fish or pork.
Yeah.
Excellent. And then the second half of the episode is Fraser hosting a brunch for Mel. Or brunch from hell, as Roz puts it. So Mel comes over, meets everyone, Roz included. She's pretty much part of the family. I think she's included in majority of like the family events from now on.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's a bit antagonistic in her own way.
Yeah.
She just winds people up the wrong way. She kind of comes in, demands that Eddie goes out onto the balcony, gets on Martin's nerves, makes a comment about drinking during the day to Roz and Daphne, which gets on their nerves, admits about being the influence for Niles going for the courtmaster position, which gets on Fraser's nerves, and Daphne just gets drunk. So
Daphne gets drunk, because she's suppressing some feelings that she's trying to keep bottled up.
And I say poor Mel. I mean, she kind of brings it on herself. She is a bit high strung and unlikable.
Yeah. Generally speaking, I definitely agree.
Yeah.
But I do find it a little strange that this episode is supposed to be like the point where everyone decides that they don't like Mel, because I don't think she's that bad in this episode compared to some later episodes, especially towards Daphne. She says quite a lot of rude, demanding things, whereas this episode I don't think is that bad. She's allergic to Eddie, so wants Eddie to go outside, and yes, she says it in a way that's very bossy and demanding and quite rude, especially as a guest in someone else's home. But I think I'm allergic to your dog, I don't want your dog around while I'm eating, isn't that bad.
No.
She makes demands about the food, which they kind of get a bit annoyed about, but also if it's allergies, it's like, it's not, that's not on her.
It's more her attitude.
She definitely doesn't.
Rather than...
Yeah, she doesn't have a good attitude.
The specific requests.
But I think a lot of the stuff isn't as unreasonable as...
No, maybe not.
As we as the audience are supposed to believe, and also as the other characters see it.
But I think she's also kind of been ratcheted up a little bit compared to her previous appearances in The Late Dr. Crane and Fight Before Christmas.
Yeah.
She's a lot more, Fraser makes the joke, oh, she's a bit like Maris kind of thing, but she's not really that bad. Whereas in this episode, they definitely turn it up a notch.
Oh, they do.
And make her actively, at least on the surface, actively unlikable to watch. And then, as you say, just only gets worse from here.
Yeah.
But, understandably, Niles is a bit upset when everyone tells them tells him how they feel through a little bit of misunderstanding.
Just a little bit, yeah.
After she leaves, they all confess their feelings towards her, and Niles is understandably a bit upset. The episode kind of fizzles out without any resolution there.
Yeah,
as
there's
well. He doesn't forgive them. They don't. Well, Fraser leaves a message to apologize, but there's no on-screen resolution. And that's kind of that.
Yeah,
Mel's here to stay.
For now. Yeah.
And everyone's just going to need to put up with it. Martin has a little B plot.
He does
here as well. In amongst these other two segments, Martin is sleeping with Claire Wojciechowski. Cheeky rascal.
Yeah,
it's his old friend's widow.
Yeah.
How would you like to take an attempt at spelling Wojciechowski?
Did
you write
not
it down?
count that? I've got it written down here on my notes.
You have to look away.
Okay. WOJ.
Yeah.
A.
Yeah.
D.
Yeah.
U. B. A. K. O. W. S. K. I. Was that right?
Yeah.
And you can confirm that I was looking at you and I wasn't looking at my phone. I did copy it down. I actually just copied it off of IMDb. I didn't even type it out. So hopefully that's not.
I'm impressed because I wouldn't have got that.
Wojciechowski.
Yeah, he's a bit. He's been a cheeky boy.
Yeah.
But he's only sleeping with her when he thinks there's something wrong. He likes the danger almost.
I guess clearly he's into it because he knows that people won't approve. Which is a bit weird. And then it kind of fizzles out when Fraser says, "Oh, I don't think you did anything wrong." And then of course jumps back into action as soon as Daphne comes in and says, "You dirty old man, what are you doing sleeping with your best friend, your dead best friend's widow?" Yeah.
It's a really good episode, in my humble opinion.
I think it's pretty good.
I think even though it's a little bit segmented, I think both halves of the episode are enjoyable. The Whine Club's great. It's a great little scene.
I think the Whine Club's fantastic.
Brunch as well. I think I like the sort of homey scenes. I like when we see them just sort of hanging around having brunch, even though there's a new element introduced. Excuse me, in this case being Mel.
Yeah.
And just the sort of advancement of Mel and Niall's relationship. He clearly cares a lot for her. Is nice to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a nice episode. I like it. I gave it a 4-cupper.
A 4?
4 cups.
4 is not bad.
How did you?
I give it a 3.
Okay.
So yeah, a little bit down for me. I think I just don't enjoy the brunch scene quite as much.
Okay.
Or sort of the end. It's all right, but I don't think there's much of it that is particularly entertaining.
No, that's fair.
The kind of second half of the episode, but the first half definitely earns a few points. It is very funny, and we get a little. It is the only time that we see him because this is only one of 2 episodes that's actually we see the inside of the Whine Club. At least I think it's only 2 episodes. We get the former Corkmaster, the outgoing Corkmaster, played by Anthony Held.
Yes.
Who you might recognize from. Well, I mean, the one thing that I know him best from is Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs and Hannibal.
Was he in Hannibal as well?
He's in one of the other ones. It's either Red Dragon or Hannibal. I can't remember which one.
I'm guessing it'll be Red Dragon because he's the head of the institution that Hannibal Lecter is in.
Maybe. I can't remember which one it is.
And Hannibal was a sequel, but Red Dragon was a prequel.
Yes.
Where we see him still inside the institution. So presumably it's Red Dragon.
Possibly.
I haven't seen Red Dragon though.
It's very good.
I know.
If you've not seen it, it's very good.
I know. I almost watched it the other day actually.
Oh, I would watch it.
I was because I saw it on
Much
Netflix.
better
And I was
than
like, maybe I should
Hannibal.
watch that. See, I enjoyed Hannibal.
Then you'll love Red Dragon because Hannibal's garbage.
Clearly, we're gearing up for when we're eventually going to do our horror movie podcast.
Oh yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, so he's in that.
Yeah.
And I think he's quite good. He's quite funny. He kind of makes little jokes about Spritzergate.
Thank you for seeing me through the tough times of Spritzergate. Yeah, yeah, he is good.
And he kind of hosts the blind taste off, and yeah, he's very funny. He's a nice little guest star, even though he's only got like 3 or 4 lines.
Yeah, he's not that much.
Yeah, so it's a 3. The first half's great. The second half's pretty nothing, in my opinion.
Fine. We'll take a 3. Moving on to our final episode of the disc, Hot Pursuit. The hot pursuit, or pursuits in this case, being Niles and Martin on a stakeout, pursuing one of Donnie's clients, or on behalf of one of Donnie's clients, trying to get photos of an affair in action, and Fraser and Roz on the pursuit of some hot dates whilst away on their KCL outage, wherever it is. They say it's on an island.
Yeah, they say
does
they
Washington
got a ferry
have
over?
like islands?
There are. Well, there's Mercer Island, but that's like pretty much in the Seattle area. It's
Right.
just like a kind of ferry ride in the city.
Is it Puget Sound? Is that not the
Maybe.
water area?
Well, there is Elliott Bay,
Yeah,
as the towers are named after. The tower is named after. I don't know. I'm not good with geography of cities in states in countries that I've never been to.
Yeah,
unfortunately. Apologies to our listeners in Seattle.
yeah, we'll visit one day maybe.
We will.
Yeah, the sort of a split between the two. It's not as like first half, second half as the previous episode. They're more intertwined. Niles is concerned about Martin going out on a stakeout by himself, even though Donnie's paying pretty good money. So he goes out and joins Martin, and they have a wee chat about sort of morality and ruining someone's life through the use of these photos. Like as you were saying, like, oh, marital affairs are complicated. There might be a reason behind it. They might live a happy life after this, but by taking those photos and showing them, you're dooming them forever.
Yeah.
And kind of, he does get through to Martin until the man drives into Niles' Mercedes.
What is he? Is he the dumpster king?
I don't know.
He's the king of something. They talk about him being. I was going to say the mattress king, but I don't think it's the mattress king.
No, that's the Donald Trump's boy, is it not?
Donald Trump's boy?
Yeah, is it not the mattress king? Is it not someone like that? There's a guy who owns like a Bed Bath & Beyond type store who's like proper.
Oh, is there?
Best mates with Donald Trump.
I don't know.
Am I imagining that?
Maybe
I dreamt that. Maybe it was a fever dream or something.
No, it may well be. Is that Rudy Giuliani?
He's the mattress king. He's the mattress king.
Yeah. Look at us with our piping hot political satire.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so they have their stake. I like the stakeout.
I was going to say
we'll talk about this bit first because I actually like it.
Yeah, I quite like it. It's nice having them getting some bonding time.
Yeah,
it's nice.
There's probably not a huge amount to it, but I think it is kind of fun just them chatting. We talk about Niles talks about the kind of anxiety that came with his dad being a cop and how he, since he was old enough to know what his dad did, felt scared every time his dad left.
Yeah. And
that didn't end until the day he retired.
Yeah.
And now it's coming back again. And there's a lot of complicated emotions there. And it's interesting to explore that.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's nice. And Martin kind of reassures him, but ultimately you're always going to care for your family if they're doing dangerous jobs like that. So it's nice to get a bit of perspective on it, I guess.
Yeah.
The other plot line is not quite as interesting. I don't know. It's a bit weird. They're away on the KCL getaway overnight. Fraser's just back from Boston, seeing Frederick. He's grown a bit of a beard. He's trying a new look. It's just a bit of stubble. It's not even a beard yet.
Yeah. When Cheers ended, Fraser had a big beard.
He did.
And it's not a bad look.
It's not at all. This
looks
horrible,
he kind
though.
of suits it.
It's like this grubby stubble.
Yeah, it doesn't look
horrible.
good at all. It's like 5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah.
Maybe like plus a couple. It's like 8 o'clock shadow.
8 o'clock shadow, yeah.
You know?
And he and Roz end up sharing a room because his room isn't ready and then gets cancelled or whatever. And Roz also wants to try out a new look. She's complaining, or that's kind of... They end up back in her room after they both strike out.
Mm-hmm.
And she wants to try out another look as well. She bought a blonde wig because she's complaining at everyone being attracted to all the blonde ladies.
Yeah.
There's a new barista, Cafe Nervosa, who's blonde, and everyone's very attracted to her, and she's feeling a bit insecure.
Yeah.
And as they're both kind of trying to make each other feel better, they end up getting very close. There's champagne running, and it's kind of building up to them kissing and sleeping together. And thankfully, Kenny interrupts. He's in the same situation as Fraser. There's no room for him. He comes and bunks with them and interrupts the bad decision in the making.
Yes.
Even makes a comment about like, oh, I turned down the wrong path. You don't want to turn down the wrong path because you'll end up getting lost and you won't know your way back and blah blah blah. It's very like on the nose monologue as he's shouting through from the bathroom. But I agree, it would be a bad idea for Fraser and Roz to sleep together.
Yeah.
They should go the entire show without doing that.
They should.
Because I like that they're just friends.
Mm-hmm.
I like that you don't need to have characters sleeping together.
Yeah.
Just because they happen to be male and female and single. There's no narrative reason for it. Mm-hmm. So it just feels forced, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It feels like that's the sitcom trope to follow. So they do it.
Yeah. I agree. I feel like my opinion on it has not warmed to it because I am still against it, but this episode specifically I always hated because of that, because it's like I hate the idea of the two of them being forced to be in a relationship. Yeah. Why can you not just have a man and a woman in a TV show be friends? There always has to be this romantic thing and they have to have sex or whatever. But obviously they don't here, and I kind of, watching it this time, can kind of see a little bit more of the writer's intentions with it and how they're sort of exploring the idea of if you are good friends with someone else who you realistically could well be attracted to, and you're good friends and you're both single for a long time, there probably will be that temptation to almost sleep together, and exploring why you shouldn't do it. It's sort of like not a morality tale, a cautionary tale.
A cautionary tale, yeah.
Of like, this can happen if you this would be a mistake. Don't do it. Don't sleep with your friends. And that's kind of maybe more what they were intending, rather than chucking some wood on the will they, won't they fire.
Yeah.
Which is sort of what it feels like as well. So I have mixed opinions on it. Overall, I don't really enjoy watching it, but I don't hate it as much as I used to.
I agree. I don't like the plot and what they try and say and do with it. Mm-hmm. Even though, as you say, the writers might have had good intentions, but it's just not particularly fun to watch because I do like Fraser and Roz as friends.
Yeah,
I don't like them as anything more. But conversely, I do like cozy episodes. I like when it's just a couple of characters in a room together talking. Mm-hmm. And this whole episode is that. Martin and Niles in the car on their stakeout, and Fraser and Roz in the hotel room. So I like that aspect of it. I like when we get just simple two characters, or a couple or a few characters in a room, and they're just chatting. It feels cozy. It feels nice to get stuff like that, especially when you've got such a great cast as Fraser does. Mm-hmm. It's always enjoyable to watch.
Yeah,
even just conversations. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the subject of the plot, the Martin and Niles stuff's better.
Yeah, that's true. No, I definitely agree.
We also I really like Daphne in a hat. I know that's a really weird thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
The start of the episode, Donnie comes back from a tractor show with Martin. With Martin? Yeah.
With Martin, yeah.
He is with Martin, yeah. And brings Daphne a hat. It's like just a trucker cap style thing. She puts it on, and I don't know, there's something really attractive about her in a hat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is. It's weird.
Yeah.
Because there's no like feasible reason. I'm not particularly attracted to hats or particularly Jane Leaves, like as an individual, but just her in that cap is just something really, really attractive about it.
Suits her, I guess.
Yeah, don't know.
Yeah.
There you go. That's Hot Pursuit.
Yeah.
It's pretty plain.
Yep.
Pretty middle of the road.
And that's the end. It's pretty much
pretty much a thropper.
Pretty much a big fat thropper. Yeah. I actually am not quite as generous. I give it a 2.
Oh, you didn't give it a thropper?
I didn't give it a thropper. No, I give it a 2.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Actually,
I thought we'd end on a thropper.
No, we're not ending on it. We're not ending on a double thropper. Unfortunately, a 2 for thropper.
2 for thropper.
Yeah. No, it's. I've given my opinion on it. It's fine. I don't hate the Fraser Ross stuff as much, but it's still very off-putting, and it makes me not enjoy the episode very much.
Yeah.
I like Niles and Martin in the stakeout, but it's not particularly good enough to bump the rating up. It's good, and if we got more of an episode of just Martin and Niles doing that, or if that was a B plot for a better A plot.
If it was like a road trip,
yeah,
the two of them
on a road trip
for the majority of the episode, and they were exploring, I don't know, something or traveling somewhere, I think we'd get a lot more out of it. The fact that it's stationary and just 2-3 scenes, they're kind of limited in what we get out of it, but yeah, still the better part of the episode. Still enjoyable. Still a thropper.
Still a thropper for you.
Still a thropper.
Fair enough.
And that's disc 3.
That is disc 3.
We will be rounding off season 7 next week, and oh boy, what a disc that one is!
I know, very exciting.
Yeah, very exciting. Looking forward to that. Do you have any highlights for this disc?
To be honest, I'd probably just have to give it to Niles' monologue during the song in there playing our song.
Okay.
I just think it's really funny.
Yeah.
He gets so into it, and he's kind of doing a "Who dares enter the dark labyrinth of the human mind?" And it's great. It's so funny. He sounds like Skeletor or something.
Sounds like Rod Sterling.
Oh yeah, actually that would be really funny.
Very Twilight Zone.
He was in. I was going to say he was in the Twilight Zone, but he wasn't. David Head Pierce was in an episode of Outer Limits.
Outer Limits, is it?
It was there was a reboot of the Outer Limits.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the competitor to the original Twilight Zone that got rebooted in around 2000-ish. That's not related, but anyway, yeah.
Can I just say before I do my highlight as well, right? There's a bit in there playing a song, I forgot to mention it, that always really, really annoys me, right?
Yeah.
When they write the actual jingle at the end of the episode.
I think I know what you're going to say. Do you have a better idea of what could have been used for the final line?
Yes.
Yeah.
It annoys me to no end. So, I can't remember what the actual lyrics are now. If you got a problem, if you're feeling low, looking for some answers, call into our show. It's right there. It's right there. But no, they go with things you need to know.
Looking for some answers, things you need to know.
No.
And then it's all you gotta do is ask.
But that's
which I think works.
No, I disagree. If you got a problem, if you're feeling low, looking for some answers, call into our show.
Yeah. I guess. It's not bad.
Every time it annoys me because I'm like, this is so much better. Let me write it. Let me write an episode of Frasier, guys. Let us helm the reboot.
Yeah.
So my highlight, I think, I don't know. There's some good moments to choose from. I think I'm going to have to give it to Brian Bedford.
Fair enough.
I'm going to just have to give it to the guest star.
That's a good thing to pick.
To Edward. I think he's just... There's something just really appealing about him. He's just a really nice guest star. He's not kind of breaking new ground. But, I talk about like sort of comfort and cozy episodes, and it's not really something you can't really describe it. It's just episodes that you watch and you're like, oh, that's nice. It makes you feel good watching it.
Yeah.
And he's one of those guest stars that I just really like and I just enjoy watching.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm giving it to Brian Bedford.
Yeah. Good choice.
And that's us.
That is us.
Done the highlights.
Yeah. Before we round up this episode, how would you like to hear a little message sent in by one of the supporters of the podcast?
I would love to hear that.
Fantastic. So, Ben, who has supported us very kindly, thank you, Ben, has said, love the show. I'm so far behind, still midway through season 3, but always look forward to listening after I finish a disc. Keep up the great work.
Oh.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you for the kind words and for your support. It means a lot to us.
Yes. I think we should read out more. If anyone puts in messages,
yes.
Go for anything. We should
read if anyone decides to support us, or just has any particularly nice things that they want to,
doesn't have to be nice.
Us.
If you want to send a really horrible message, we'll read it out.
Yeah. That's actually one of the things that I was kind of like, this is how I sort of know that we're on our way. I don't want to say we've made it, but this is kind of us on our way to having a real audience and actually getting out there. Is we got our first comment of someone not liking. It was a stupid meme that I made that I put on YouTube.
Oh, I saw that.
And it was someone commented on it saying something like absolutely pathetic or whatever, and I'm just, that's getting pinned. That's funny. This is how you know that because if it's like we're only reaching the people that are regular followers. Yes. We love hearing from you, of course, and putting nice comments, and it really means a lot to us, and it's always great to read. But there's something about knowing that someone that is not one of our usual followers has watched it and still felt the need to put in a comment saying they didn't like it. That's how we know that we're reaching more people, which is kind of a nice little milestone.
Yeah, it's fun. I like it. I like watching the numbers go up.
Yeah.
That's good. It's enjoyable. And I like hearing from people and just like doing the podcast, man.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it. It's good fun. We've got a ways to go, but yeah, enjoying it.
Yeah.
Good. Well, we'll end there.
We will indeed.
So, without further ado, have a great day, good mental health, and thank you for listening. This has been a Happy Brothers podcast. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram @HappyBrosPod. All opinions are our own, and as always, special thanks to Leah O'Donnell for the show's artwork.